you guys, and welcome to the Phoenix Rising podcast. I have been a little MIA on this, not intentionally. Life's just been a little busy. So thank you for your messages and all your questions. I do have a podcast episode coming through the pipe for you that's going to be all about strength and building real strength physically and mentally. But some of the questions I've been receiving were starting to pile up. So it's been a while since I've done a listener Q&A. So this one's just going to be simply straightforward. All the questions you've asked and all the answers I've got. To make this even more simple and straightforward, because we all can use a more simplified life, if after you listen to all this stuff, you want some help with figuring out your nutrition, strength programming, figuring out your workout programming, healing your body, correcting muscular imbalances, and pretty much everything that I'm about to talk to you about, just go find me on Instagram at Ashley Drummonds and send me a message. That's the easiest thing for you. It's the easiest thing for me. And we'll talk. We'll find out what's going on, what your goals are, and where you want to be. And we'll figure out a way to help you get there. All right. So many questions this week. We've got some stuff, just so you know the main topics we're covering. We got questions about the different kinds of protein and what they do. Questions about how to figure out how to get started in a fitness career. If you are brand new to the fitness and nutrition industry, I will give you my suggestions and advice. Doesn't mean it's going to be the end all be all answer, but I'll do my best to help you with just the experience that I've had. And then I got questions around natural pain relievers. If you have some pain going on, we'll talk about some of the supplements and lotions and creams you can use for that, how to reduce inflammation, what the best approach is to weight loss and strength training if you're brand new, and plenty of other things. So let's dive right in. First question I got was about natural pain relief. So somebody had sent me this message. They've been struggling with some pain in their side for a while, which if she's listening to this, shout out to you. I'm not going to use names because apparently nobody else likes being called out on a podcast. Totally understandable and totally fine. But so she sent me a message saying, "Hey, Ashley, I have a question for you. I know you know a lot about the body and a lot of holistic and natural remedies. I've had this pain in my side near one of my ribs for quite a while. I've had x-rays, I've gone to doctors. Nobody seems to be able to figure out what's wrong. And I'm wondering if it's a pulled muscle or if you have any suggestions on what I can do to help correct the pain because it's getting really unbearable." So the answer is yes. A couple things. So if it is muscular and it is a tore muscle, there's a few things that happen. This person, from what I know, is not active. If you are active, it is very possible you can have a displaced rib. That sounds crazy, but believe it or not, it's more common than most people realize, especially if you lift weights at all. You almost always displace ribs. You just don't even know it. You just will feel like a little twinge in your side. If it's that, you can get an adjustment from a chiropractor. They can tell you, and it's a pretty quick fix. And it's pretty painless, honestly. So that's one remedy you can do if it's a displaced rib. Now, if it's muscular, I don't ever suggest, because one of the questions that she was saying was, are there corrective exercises I can do to fix this if it is a tore muscle? The answer is yes. If you did overcompensate with a muscle, there are exercises you can do. However, to keep the inflammation down in your body, the first thing you're going to want to do is allow the body to heal. And then you start doing the corrective exercises. The counterintuitive thing is when you have an injury, everybody always thinks like, oh, don't move. You need to rest and wait for it to get better. Yes, but I actually tend to do the opposite and tell people to do a little bit of the opposite, that the more blood flow and fresh oxygen you can get to a place that is injured, the faster you're going to help in healing and in your recovery process. So if you have, for example, if you got a pulled back, sitting is not going to be super helpful, although it's probably going to be the less painless. If you can find a way to even just walk or, I don't know, ride a bike or swim, anything to get blood flow moving and inflammation out, that's going to be the best thing for you. So that's another natural remedy you can do if you do have a muscle sprain or strain. The third thing about this and the question that actually ended up being the antidote was I recommended that she go get a magnesium cream or lotion. So this comes in the form of, typically lotions and oils come in the form of magnesium chloride or magnesium sulfur. Magnesium is a natural muscle relaxer, and with using an oil or a lotion, you can apply it topically immediately to the place that you're having the pain or issues, and you should feel relief pretty quickly. This person was experiencing relief within 24 hours because the magnesium is able to get into the cells and the muscle tissue without having to go through the gut. So a lot of times when you take magnesium supplements, it first has to bypass the gut and the large intestines in order to access the cells in the bloodstream. When you use topical magnesium for specific pain relief, it can get straight through your skin to your bloodstream and your cells to help cause some relaxation right away. So the natural remedy, get some blood flow. Everybody always uses ice for pain, which is necessary if you have severe swelling. However, when you can get heat and movement naturally, you get more blood flow, which helps in the healing process. So with the back, you can walk if you can. I'm pretty sure she can because it just felt like a pulled muscle. That's going to help alleviate some of the inflammation. Drink a lot of water. The more hydrated you are, the more you flush out inflammation, and then try out the magnesium and see if that helps. And that's going to be your best bet. And I'm saying all this because I'm sharing the answer with you. I already told her this answer, and she sent me like a 10-minute voice message. Within 24 hours, like her pain was gone and she was running and doing all kinds of things. So do not underestimate the power of magnesium, which brings me to my next question that was also about low back pain and inflammation in the body, that I also recommended magnesium. So here's the thing. I know that I talk about magnesium all the time, but most people don't understand. So everybody knows sodium and potassium is an important electrolyte. For whatever reason, people always forget about magnesium. However, magnesium is responsible for so many things in the body. If your magnesium is low, your sleep is going to go down the drain. Your recovery time is going to be more delayed. Your muscular strength is going to be less. Your inflammation is going to go up. Your cortisol is going to go up. And your thinking is going to go way down. You're not going to be able to think as clearly. So here's an example of this, and I'll get back to the question about the low back pain. An example of this, days that magnesium is a little bit low, you're going to fatigue faster in your workouts, and your grip is going to get lost faster. So like if normally you're doing squats or pull-ups or deadlifts or whatever, and you're just warming up and it's like you're feeling more energized throughout the warm up. But if your magnesium is low and you're like, God, I can't even get through this warm out without feeling like stiff and I'm already tired. Guarantee you go pop some magnesium within 20 to 30 minutes. You're probably going to have more elevated energy and you're going to get a lot of your muscle strength back. That's the crazy thing, is people don't realize that fatigue can also be a sign of low magnesium, and it affects your muscular strength and your performance ability. Anywho, going back to this question about the low back pain. So there's a couple things going on here with the low back pain. One, obviously, if you have pain, again, refer to the question that I just answered, it means there's inflammation. If there's inflammation, it means your magnesium is low. So therefore, you need to first increase your magnesium intake to help flush out the inflammation, but also as a natural way to relax the muscles. Second thing, a lot of low back pain problems that people have either comes from not properly performing exercises, so you're putting too much pressure and load on your spine, or it comes from sitting way too much, creating tight hip flexors and weak glute and hamstring muscles. So you got to think of the body like the elevator, or like a pulley system, or like a scale. If one side is tight and the other side is not equally as strong, when you go to use the other side, you're going to end up hurting yourself because you haven't spent the same amount of time strengthening it. So people who are sitting all day, or maybe you're in a car all day and you're driving all day long, think of the position that you're in. Your legs are up, your knees are up. You're almost in a squat position, except for you're not actually activating anything except for your hip flexors, which are the joints. If you don't know where, a lot of people mistake where the hip flexors are. So right where your groin is, basically, where the hip connects to the leg, kind of in that area, it's where your hip flexors are. These are very important for a lot of your regular movements: walking, standing, squatting, picking things up. If you do not have the correct balance of strength in your glutes, in your hamstrings, then what happens is when you go to perform something simple, like bending over to pick something up, or even when you're doing deadlifts, or maybe you're doing something overhead and you're arching your back, because you haven't strengthened those muscles on your posterior chain, you end up pulling a back muscle because you load the entire spine in the back with this. So the way that we correct this, other than part one, the magnesium, part two is we have to do corrective exercises to fix the imbalance. The corrective exercises you can do to fix low back pain are a lot of glute bridges. When you do the glute bridge, you have to make sure that you are driving through the heels, strengthening while flexing your glutes and your hamstring and pushing all the way up. A lot of people don't get full range of motion on glute bridges. When you push all the way up and you get full range of motion, you should feel contraction in the glutes and hamstring and feel stretching in the hip flexors and the quads. So this is called active stretching. Active stretching is where we activate the opposite muscle, which would be glutes and hamstrings, in order to open up and stretch the other muscle, which would be your hip flexors and your quads. So one corrective exercise is that, the glute bridges. The other corrective exercise you can do is a lot of people do planks incorrectly. Maybe you can hold a plank for 2 minutes. Maybe you can do it for 60 seconds. However, when you get in the plank position, the first thing I do is I'll have somebody, and I did this the other day, somebody was talking about this exact problem. They're like, but I can do a plank for a minute and a half. I said, let me see your plank. They got in the plank position. Within 3 seconds, I felt around on their low back and their glutes. I was like, you're not doing the plank correctly. You're putting all the load on your spine and on your elbows. What you have to do is when you get in a plank position, same thing as the glute bridge, you squeeze your glutes, tuck your pelvis, so you're actually crunching and engaging the core. You're not going to be able to hold it for that 60 to 90 seconds because it's the first time you've ever done a plank correctly. So this is important too. Planks are meant to strengthen your entire core. Most people load the shoulders and the elbows with way too much weight instead of flexing the glutes, tucking the pelvis, and squeezing the core in the plank. So that's corrective exercise number 2 you can do for low back pain. Number 3 corrective exercise for low back pain is the hip flexor stretch. And I can't really demonstrate this because this is a podcast and it's all audio. But if you just go to my Instagram, I've got all kinds of stuff like this on there. And in one of them, I'm demonstrating to you the wrong way how to do a hip flexor stretch and the right way how to do it. So a lot of times people do hip flexor stretch. They put one foot in front of the other. The back leg is slightly straight. And then they just lean forward to stretch the hip flexor. This isn't totally wrong, but there's also a better way. If you so you're kneeling down, you have one knee up and the other knee is down on the ground. You're kind of you're in a lunge position essentially, except for your knee is on the ground. When you do this, instead of leaning forward to stretch your hip flexor, flex your glute and drive your hips forward. Again, this is active stretching. So this way, you're not just stretching one side without strengthening the other. You are actively correcting the imbalance. And that's the most important thing is you stretch all the time. Everybody does. But the point of stretching is to put the body in balance. To keep it in balance, you have to strengthen the opposite muscle that holds it up. So the 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, hip flexor stretch is fantastic if you do it actively. So for that question, those are my top 3 corrective exercises you can do to fix low back pain, especially if it's coming from either improper lifting or from sitting way too much throughout the day. Then also you can start supplementing with the magnesium, like I said with the one before. All right. Okay, so other question I got. "Hi, ma'am, I need a new protein. Do you have any suggestions?" And I didn't know that different proteins do different things. So, yes, different proteins do different things. And we'll explain a little, it's just me. I'll explain a little bit of what the difference is and what you need to look out for. So, to keep it as simple as possible, we've got whey protein, we've got casein, and we've got vegan. Now, I am not breaking it down into hydrolyzed, isolated, concentrated, micellar, milk proteins, all that, because that's not really what you need to know. So again, we have whey, we have casein, and we've got vegan. To get the equivalent of the protein your body absorbs in 1 scoop of whey, you would have to consume 2 times the amount of vegan. So basically, if you want 20 grams of protein, you can take 20 grams of whey protein. That's what your body absorbs, 20 grams of whey protein. If you take 20 grams of vegan protein, your body's only going to absorb about 10. So long story short, that's what that is. Post-workout recovery, you want some form of whey. And the reason you want some form of whey is because whey is fast-acting protein. It means that it immediately hits your muscle fibers to help provide it with the nutrients and the amino acids that it needs to build and repair stronger after a workout. That's the importance of whey. Casein, on the other hand, is a slow absorption. I always have to say this slow because they're big words. Slow absorption and digestion protein. It takes longer for your body to break down the casein protein, which means it'll sustain you and your muscles for 3 to 4 hours. Now, why would you need different ones? Like, why would you want casein instead of just always drinking protein? Well, a few things. Like I said, whey is great for post-workout. Casein is great if you need to stay fueled. Say you're going from breakfast to lunch and you're not going to be able to eat for the next 4 to 5 hours. If you consume whey, you're going to be hungry in about an hour. If you consume casein, it's going to last you about 3.5 hours or so. Casein is also the kind of protein you want to use at night because it's slow absorption. While you're sleeping is when your body repairs. So you need to make sure people who are skipping meals at night and they're not getting any form of protein at night, you're doing a disservice to all the work that you do in the workouts during the day. So taking casein at night before you go to bed gives your body, more importantly, your muscles, fuel while you're sleeping so that you don't go into a catabolic state. Catabolic state is where you're underfueled, and because your body's not getting enough protein, it will start to eat all the muscles that you worked really hard to build in order just to get the amino acids and the nutrients that it needs. So basically, we don't want it to do that. Obviously, like, you work so hard to build that lean muscle, make sure that you fuel your body so your body's not like, well, crap, they're not giving me enough protein or enough carbohydrates, so therefore I have no choice but to go directly to the place in my body that has the protein and carbohydrates and eat all that up just so I can sleep, think, and function normally. So this is where casein comes into play. Vegan, that's a total personal choice. I mean, I'm not vegan, but there's nothing wrong with vegan protein. It's just, keep in mind, vegan protein doesn't have the same kind of absorption as whey is going to have and as casein is going to have. Also, total side plug, the pancakes, the abs protein pancakes are both whey and casein specifically because when I made the recipe, I wanted something that had both a fast acting component to it and a slow digestion component to it so that I was getting benefits of both. So for me personally, I like blends. That way I have something that immediately hits my muscles, but then there's also enough casein in there that I'll stay satisfied and sustained for quite a while, and I'm not immediately hungry 20 minutes later. So that's the answer on the different proteins without getting it super complex and confusing, is the whey, the vegan, and the casein. Yeah. Oh, whey too. Well, whey and casein also has very important amino acids that I've talked about before, the isoleucine, the valine, and the glycine. I'm totally forgetting right now, which means I need more carbs. Yeah. So basically it has the very 3 key amino acids in it. Vegan does not necessarily have that. Some of them do, depending on the form of vegan protein that it is. So there's that question. Next question that I got is about starting a career in the fitness industry. Okay, here we go. I gotta pull this up. Let's see. Hey, Ashley, doesn't matter how old she is. I've always loved the world of fitness. I recently quit my corporate job to take some time off and figure out how to engage in the world of fitness full-time and earn a living. I love Strong Magazine and the podcast and saw that you were on it, and I was very inspired by your story. Thank you for sharing. Now I need to figure out what I want to do by getting into fitness full-time. Should I learn yoga? Do I become a yoga instructor? I don't know, but we'll continue to engage and eventually figure out what I want to do. Do you have any words of wisdom on figuring out how to figure out your career in the fitness industry? This is tricky, and I totally understand it because it's like, here's the thing, is the fitness industry is no different than anything else in your life. You've never done it, so you're not going to really know where your niche is until you get in and you start to experience things. So if yoga is your bread and butter, and that's what you love, then dive right into yoga. Once you get into yoga, you're going to find out you either love it or hate it, or you're going to find out maybe you like group fitness. Maybe it's one-on-one. It's very much a self-discovery process, and it's kind of hard to do until you get in the industry. On the flip side, another person asked something very similar about figuring out they were brand new into fitness. They're like, I thought I wanted to do personal training. Now I don't know if personal training is my thing. I think I like working with athletes more, but I don't know if it's high school athletes or adult athletes. Here's what I've learned, because I struggled with this too. When I first got in the personal training industry, it was just all weight loss. I mean, that's what most people do for personal training, or why they hire a personal trainer is for weight loss. I got into the weight loss space, and it's not that I didn't love it. It was just like, yeah, but this isn't quite it. There's something else that I want to do. So then I tried the other route, like maybe I should just do nutrition. And it was like, no, but I still like really helping empower people through strength training and seeing them go through their own transformation. So let me go back to that, and let me try this, let me try that. So it's more about if you have that, okay, here's the exercise that I used. And you can't really use this until you're actually working in the industry. But I always think of, all right, who are my favorite clients? Yes, every trainer, every person in any industry has favorites. I'm not going to say who my favorite clients are, but so I always think like, who are my favorite clients? Okay, why are they my favorite clients over everybody else? What is it that I love about working with them that I'm not necessarily getting from everybody else? And then you can start to kind of break it down and figure that out. So like for me, some of my favorite clients are ones that I get to do strength training with, mindset with. I watch them like go through an entire transformation process. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's like an extreme weight loss thing. It's more so like, for me, one of the most rewarding things is seeing women and men go from feeling totally clueless on their body and nutrition, or even just like, who knows, maybe life knocked them down a little bit so they're feeling a little bit low in their confidence and their self-esteem for whatever reason. I love seeing the empowerment process and the awareness process that people get through lifting weights, strengthening their body, becoming more mentally self-aware, changing their thought structures, and really just like, most of my clients refer to it as like finding their voice, feeling like unstoppable, feeling like a badass in their own life. So like that to me is what's satisfying. It doesn't really fit a specific niche. It's just what happens with clients through the process is what I love. So if you're new to the fitness industry and you're trying to figure out what avenue you want to take, think about, this is actually a business exercise. It's your avatar. You create your avatar. So think about like who the ideal person is that you want to help. And 9 times out of 10, we always want to help the people that most resemble ourselves. It's not selfish. It's just we like to help people who have a similar storyline or path that we do, because we know how to pull them out of where they are to where they want to be. But if not, it could be something else. Maybe it's somebody that resembles like a family member or a friend that you've really helped. But so you think of who your ideal person is, like how old are they? What age bracket are they? Are they Is it a man? Is it a woman? Is it both? Not is it both? Do you help both men and women? Are they brand new, never worked out before, and you want to be the seed into the fitness industry for them? Or are they super into fitness and you just help take them to the next level? Break it down to that aspect. And then when you get pretty clear on the type of clients that you want to work with, you then start to ask yourself, where are they at? Do they go to a gym? Do they go to an athletic club? Are they at a yoga studio? Are they at a high school? Are they at college? And it gives you direction on where to start looking for your career. So hopefully that's helpful. And that makes a lot of sense. Okay, next question. Hey, Ashley, I'm sure you're super busy. This is super random. I guess it's not that random. I know you're super busy, but I was just curious, how much time on Shark Tank do you get from when they give you the offer to when you have to respond? Because it looks really short on TV, but I'm curious if you actually get a lot more time than that. Yeah. So believe it or not, that part of the reality TV is very real. It's a two-way conversation that's happening. They say their offer, immediately right there, you get a response. There's no walking away. There's no cut. There's no editing. You get like 3 seconds to think about it because it's a conversation. They're asking you the question, do you want this offer? And then you immediately have to respond back to that. So yeah, believe it or not, that is one part of the show that is actually very real. Most of the show is super real. The one thing I will say that is not necessarily real is some of the reactions that you see are not matched up with the scenario of what happened. They'll edit and cut certain reactions that don't actually go with what just happened or what was said. So that's kind of weird to watch back because you're like, wait, that's not actually what that response is to. It's super weird. And then, yeah, the airtime, is that how long you were in there? No. So the airtime ranges anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes. How long you're actually in Shark Tank and you're having your conversations and negotiations with the shark. I mean, it can be anywhere. I was in there for 45 to 50 minutes negotiating back and forth. Some people can be in there for 2 hours, but it does get cut down and edited to about 7 to 9 minutes. All right. So we have, I think this is the last one. So this is a question about allergies and inflammation. And the question basically is, hey, Ashley, I'm not sure if you know anything about this or not. I've been going to a holistic doctor for a while. I've had chronic allergies for as long as I can remember. I don't know if it's where I live or something in my environment, but I don't want to do a bunch of allergy shots, and I'm really tired of taking antihistamines every single day. Do you know anything about correcting chronic allergies? Oh, man, this is kind of a loaded response because there's a lot of moving parts to this. And if you guys haven't learned by now, my brain does, what is it called? Reverse engineering. So you tell me you've got allergies, but in my mind, I'm working backwards of okay, well, allergies, everything starts in the gut. It could be poor gut health, but also maybe it's not poor gut health because if they have increased inflammation, then it's more about vitamin D, magnesium deficiencies, which would help regulate cortisol. Cortisol is responsible for inflammation. It would reduce all of that, which would then naturally balance out the allergies. So to try to explain this part, allergies, yes, can be very environmental. That's just given. Your body should naturally be able to flush things out. So I always think when the body is out of alignment or something is off, it responds with so going back to the low back pain, you have low back pain because the muscles are out of balance. The body is letting you know, hey, this muscle is weak. Please strengthen me. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to be in pain. This is how everything works. You got to think backwards and get in the habit of asking yourself, well, why would I have this? What would be the cause? There is always a cause to everything. Who said that? Is it Isaac Newton? Cause and effect? Whatever. So with allergies, a lot of people who have issues with allergies have issues with their gut. So you consume something. The way our body works, detox pathway. So we have 3 detox pathways that happen in the body. Detox pathway number 1, you eat food, it goes in your stomach then gets rid of it by sending it to whatever organ it needs to go to. So detox pathway number 1 is your gut and your stomach. Detox pathway number 2, depending on what it is going to depend on that. It's your liver detoxes a lot, your kidneys detox a lot, all these things. Detox pathway number 3 is our poop and our pee. That's the exit. So if number 1, you got issues going on with your gut, maybe you have a lot of bacteria. By the way, consuming antihistamines, ibuprofen, any kind of thing like that regularly throws off the gut flora and the gut bacteria, which in turn is going to cause inflammation and issues with allergies. So it's kind of counterintuitive because you think, oh, I'll just take antihistamines every day and it fixes it. However, the antihistamines are destroying the gut bacteria that keeps allergies in check. So first step in the protocol is you got to take care of the gut. You got to rebalance the gut bacteria. There's different cleanses that can happen with this. Please don't just go buy one. Like I always say, don't just go like, all right, she said magnesium, I'm buying all the magnesium and I'm taking this. Or she said vitamin C, I'm like, no. It's not the way this works. If you want to do stuff like that, then come talk to me first. Let's figure out what's going on, and then we'll come up with a plan. Don't go just buying stuff and taking stuff, and then when you're pooping for days because you did some cheap gut cleanse, saying that some girl on a podcast told you to do it. I'm not taking responsibility for that. So, first step in the protocol is you got to take care of the gut. You do a cleanse. You cleanse out all the bacteria. Long story short, after you cleanse out all the bacteria, you reestablish the good bacteria, which is through like different herbs and probiotics. The reason this is important is because 1, when your gut is healthy, it can flush out things that are not supposed to be there. And 2, then when you are consuming supplements or consuming food or consuming whatever it is that your body needs, you absorb it better because there's not junk in there. And here's like the best analogy I can give you. It's like if you have a really clogged up toilet. I'm talking like the pipes are clogged. Pipes are clogged, so this is your body. If your pipes are clogged and you throw an antihistamine in there on just the toilet, or you just clean the toilet, but you don't clean the pipes, you're not really fixing what's going on. Where when you cleanse the entire gut, you're cleaning out all that gunk and junk so that what needs to get through the body can get through the body, and what needs to get absorbed in the body can get absorbed in the body. So that's the first thing. You start with cleaning out the gut. Number 2, that should help fix a lot. Some people, if you start having really bad issues, you can cut out dairy because dairy tends to contain a lot of live cultures. Some of the live cultures can cause inflammation and allergies. So if people have severe allergies, sometimes just cutting out dairy can help a ton with that. But so the second thing with that too is if you do have a lot of inflammation, which can come from anything. I mean, God, you can have stress causes a lot of inflammation. A food sensitivity can cause a lot of inflammation. Hormone imbalances can cause it. Like there's so much stuff that can cause the inflammation. But so if that's the case, we go from the gut, then it's like, all right, why do we have inflammation? We got to treat the inflammation and figure out the cause of it. Inflammation can be from low magnesium. Just saying, go back to question number 1. That can be your problem. You could be so low in magnesium that your body and your body is producing so much cortisol and inflammation that you could simply just maybe use a really quality magnesium supplement to help counter it. I don't know though until you do some labs and tests and all that. The other thing with that too is some people, I think it's the DAO enzyme. I can't think of it right now. The enzyme basically that is responsible for breaking down histamines in the body. Some people have histamine intolerances. This is not the same thing as just like your typical seasonal allergies. It's when you don't have enough of one enzyme to break down histamines in the body. So you can, especially if you're under a lot of stress, you can have a buildup of histamines. So it may not be anything specific. It's just you've got so much histamine running through the body that everything is throwing off your whole body. So with this, if that is the case, then you can try, there is a low histamine diet, and sometimes it's just cutting out some of the highest histamine foods, which it's crazy. Some of the highest histamine foods are avocados, bananas, strawberries, nuts, things that like are generally healthy. But if you are struggling with keeping histamines down, that can be a problem as well. You can just Google low histamine diets. It's going to be similar to like a anti-inflammatory diet. It's pretty much just eliminating anything that causes inflammation in the body. That I'm not concerned about you Googling because there's nothing bad that's going to come from it. But yeah, so if you happen to have a histamine intolerance, that would be the first step. So you clean the gut, then you start to take a look at the food. Are you eating something that you have a sensitivity to? Or do you just have high histamines in the body that we need to change your nutrition and your diet out with as well? Once you do that part, that actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to tell you this because I don't want you to jump to step 3 without first doing step 1 and 2. There are different types of vitamin deficiencies that can cause issues with histamines, where once you fix the deficiency in the vitamin, the histamine levels go down, the allergy levels go down, and then you're just way happier. But I'm not going to tell you all those because first I want you to do step 1 and 2. We always fix the body first with natural sources. If there's a muscle imbalance, we fix it first by correcting the muscles with exercise and the correct stretching. If there's something in the body that's off, we correct it first with nutrition, with real food, with water, with meditation. The last thing we use is any kind of supplements, and that's only if it's necessary after that. So that's the long story short version of how to correct your allergies naturally, or at least like the getting started process to how to correct it. Yeah, it's more of a getting started process on how to correct it. All right, I lied. Last question. I forgot about this one. Hydration. Hey, Ashley, I have a question. I drink a ton of water all day long and my pee is clear, but how come I still feel dehydrated? Okay. So I believe I talked about this before. Just because your pee is clear does not mean that you are hydrated. Sometimes you can overhydrate because you are drinking so much water, but your body's not actually absorbing any of it, and your kidneys are on overload flushing it out, which is what this sounds like. This happens all the time. People just drink water and water and water and water, and they keep peeing and peeing and peeing and peeing, but they're still dehydrated. So waters are molecules. Water is a molecule. It has to have something to bind to get absorbed in the gut and in the body. If you drink your water and you put a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt in it, that sea salt will bind with the water molecules so that your body is actually absorbing it. And what will happen is you actually will need less water because you're absorbing more, and you will pee less too. Somebody asked me on that note about salt. Well, doesn't salt dehydrate you? So Himalayan sea salt is slightly different in compounds than regular table salt. Himalayan sea salt actually helps hydrate you. And fun fact, you can take, well, I'm not going to tell you can do this. I do this. I'll take about a quarter of a teaspoon of just straight pink Himalayan sea salt every morning, and I stick it under my tongue and I let it dissolve. And when it's almost all gone, I'll shoot it with like a little bit of water, because that sea salt, one, helps with healing adrenals, making sure your adrenals are healthy. So your adrenal glands are for stress and hormone production and all kinds of things. 2, it immediately hydrates you. 3, it's also got small particles of your other electrolyte minerals in it. So it's got a little bit of magnesium. Of course, it's got sodium, a little bit of potassium. So that's Himalayan pink sea salt. That you can Google the healing benefits of pink sea salt. So I take a very, very small shot of it under my tongue every single morning, just to help with that. But you can put a little bit, every time you drink water, just put a little bit of salt in it. So that way the water has something to bind to and your body is actually absorbing it. And then if you are active and you are regularly exercising and working out and you're sweating a lot, or somebody who's just always on the go, I recommend supplementing with electrolytes. I get depleted really fast of my electrolytes because I am always moving and busy and doing things. So it's very easy for me to get dehydrated. But electrolytes are really important just for making sure that like you're not cramping, making sure you're absorbing it. If you get a good electrolyte that's also got BCAAs, your branched chain amino acids, you're doing your muscles a favor as well by making sure your muscles stay hydrated too. So that's the other thing, is if you're drinking a ton of water, you're drinking like a gallon of water a day and you're still feeling thirsty, add a little bit of sea salt and start using electrolytes, and you'll probably be able to reduce your water and find that you're peeing less and staying more hydrated. Okay, that really was the last one. I had these all in the notes in my phone, like as I was gathering them, and totally forgot about that one through Instagram. So hopefully that's helpful. Like I said, if you have stuff that you want help with on your nutrition, figuring out what you should be eating, how to get a really solid strength training program, if you've got stuff going on that you want corrective exercise or maybe corrective nutrition, whatever that is, the first step is go send me a message on Instagram and let's talk about it and see what's going on. And then we can figure out if we can work together and come up with a plan to get you feeling your absolute best. Like I said earlier in this, I love seeing people just totally heal their bodies, but also really just feel strong and empowered and like their best self mentally, physically, and emotionally. And that's what fitness, nutrition, and mindset coaching is for me. And I would love to help you do that. If that's what you're looking for, you now know how to find me. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, as I will have more episodes coming out. Like I said, I have another one coming down the pipeline as soon as I get a little more time to gather all my thoughts on that. I appreciate you listening to this podcast. I appreciate all of the questions that I get from you. And yeah, I hope you're having an awesome start to your day, and I'll see you in the next episode.